Okay, back in. So I've got him right in here. So what do? I start hop, hop, hop. And come right up on top with our partners, right?
My name's Larry Owings. I was born and raised not too far from here on a 30-acre farm. I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters and myself, so that makes 7. All of my older brothers were all state wrestling champions. They told me that I would never be a wrestler. The story goes that the wrestling coach asked my brothers, you know, are there any more Owings coming up? Because we need another state champ wrestler on our team. And they said, yeah. He said, we got another one coming up. His name's Larry, but he's too fat, and he'll never be a wrestler. And I was fat. I was so fat that, you know, they made fun of me, made up songs about me, teased me unmercifully. The kids at school called me Porky. My dad called me Porky, and all the brothers and sisters called me Porky. About the only person that didn't was my mother, and she never did. But, you know, I vowed that someday I would be a wrestler. When I got into the 5th grade, I weighed about 155 pounds, and I wasn't quite 5 feet tall. By the time I was in 8th grade, I went to work for an old Norwegian dairy farmer, and all we did all summer long was haul hay. I lost about 20 pounds and grew several inches that year. And by the time I got into high school, I was about 130 pounds, had grown a few inches, so I wrestled 123, 130 my first year. My first varsity match, I remember that very well, went out and got pinned. All of the confidence that I had built up that year had just vanished. I wrestled 4 more matches that year, same year, and lost every one of them. So my freshman year in high school, I didn't win a varsity match. But there was a tournament after the season that we went to, that was a state freestyle and state Greco-Roman tournament. I went to the state Greco-Roman tournament. I wrestled this first guy, looked at him, you know, and he looked like a JV kid. And I thought, I can beat a JV kid. So why not wrestled him? And I come off the mat, and my coach Larry White said, that guy got 2nd in state this year. And you just pinned a guy who got 2nd in state. And I go, wow. You know, that surprised me. So I went out and wrestled my 2nd match, and again, this guy looked like he was a JV wrestler. And I pinned him. My coach slapped me on the back and said, you just pinned another guy that got 2nd in state. That guy was in a different weight class. And I wrestled my 3rd match, and I pinned him also. My coach said the same thing, and I still to this day don't know if my coach was lying to me or telling me the truth. But to make a long story short, I only lost 1 match in the whole tournament, and I ended up 3rd in the tournament. So I didn't win a varsity match, but I got 3rd in the state Greco-Roman tournament, so that was pretty exciting. And then as a sophomore, I wrestled at 130 pounds, and I got 3rd in state in the regular collegiate style, folk style. As a junior and senior, I won the state title both years and pinned everybody in the district and state tournaments except for one person. My junior year, I didn't pin. So I went from a long ways from not winning 1 match my first year to pinning everybody in the state tournament the last 2 years. So I really owe all of that to my high school wrestling coach. He kind of took me under his wing and beat up on me every night in practice, kind of like I do with the guys here. It made me tough,
This bracket here is the first state championship that I won back in 1967, 136 pounds. It doesn't show it, but I pinned everybody through the tournament. And in the finals, I pinned Fred Cross from Crook County in the first round. And then in 1968, I was the state champion again. You can see this time they recorded the pins all the way through. I pinned everybody in this tournament as well. So for 2 years in a row, I pinned everybody in the state wrestling tournament.
When I was still a senior in high school, I wrestled in the regional Olympic trials tournament, and I won that regional Olympic trials tournament. And I qualified to go back to the national finals, and it was held in Iowa, I think, that year. And I went back there, and the first person that I drew in the tournament, a fellow by the name of Gable. He beat me 9-4. And then the second guy I wrestled was a guy by the name of Tommy Huff, who was a national champion. Gable was already a national champion in college by this time. And Tommy Huff had been a national champion too. And he beat me 6-4. So my first 2 matches I wrestled, I lost both of them, and I went back home with my tail between my legs. I may have been the 3rd best wrestler in the tournament, but if you draw in a black mark tournament, if you draw the top 2 guys and you're the 3rd best guy in the weight, you lose your first 2 matches, you're out of the tournament. So when I got into college, I decided that cut some weight. I wrestled 141 my senior year in high school, and then in college I cut down to 130 pounds, thinking that I would avoid Dan Gable because he was at 137 pounds. So I'd avoid Gable and go down to 130 and wrestle, and so I did. And I did well in the national tournament. Freshmen were not eligible to wrestle varsity on the Pacific Coast that year, but they could wrestle at the national tournament. So I wrestled at the national tournament at 130 pounds, and I won my first 3 matches, and lost my 4th match, and then the guy that beat me lost his next match, and back then it was not double elimination, just single elimination. So if you lost one, you were out of the tournament. So I didn't place in that tournament, but I realized that I had cut weight way too low. And so later that same year, there was a national freestyle and the national Greco-Roman tournament. I went up to 149 and a half pounds from 130. So that's 19 and a half pounds I gained, and didn't take long. But I won both the national freestyle and the national Greco-Roman tournaments at 149 and a half pounds. In the freestyle tournament, I got the most falls in the tournament. I think I pinned everybody but one in the tournament. In the Greco-Roman, I was the outstanding wrestler in the national Greco-Roman tournament. In the finals, I had to wrestle a guy from Japan, I forget his name now, but he was 5th in the World Games that year, and I pinned him in the finals. So I did all right in that tournament.
This bracket here is the first national championship that I won. It's the National Freestyle Championship. It was held in Illinois. I had my toughest match, first match here, and I won 10-8, and the rest of them I pinned all the way through.
So that was my freshman year in college. And then my sophomore year in college, I decided that I had avoided Dan Gable the year before. It was the wrong thing for me to do. What I really needed to do was to wrestle at a weight that I was best at, and I determined that that would be 142 pounds. But I like to eat a lot, so I wrestled all year long at 158 pounds. And I won the Pacific 8 Conference Championship at 158 pounds. So I cut down to 142 for the national tournament, and I wrestled a guy by the name of Dan Gable in the finals.
Get underway. Well, here we go. There's the champion. Dan Gable hasn't lost in high school or college. He's a senior, 21 years old, against Larry Owings, who's a sophomore from Hubbard, Oregon. He's lost 1 bout.
He pinned his way all the way to the finals, and I pinned my way all the way to the finals. And I don't know if that's ever been done before or since. It's kind of interesting, you know, you bring the brackets together. And in the finals we met, he was already a 2-time national champion, and I had won the outstanding wrestler in the national tournament. But I was ready for him. I was sky high and prepped and in good shape. Dan Gable wrestled me when I was a high school senior, and I had him on his back in that tournament. I scored 4 points on him, and he scored 9. He beat me 9-4. That year, I wrestled 158 pounds all year long, and I had to drop to 142 to wrestle Dan Gable. Well, Dan Gable heard that I was dropping 2 weight classes to wrestle him, and he knew that I had scored on him. And so I think I kind of got in his head that, you know, maybe I was able. And of course, we both wrestled a guy by the name of Mike Grant that year. Gable beat Mike Grant by a couple points, and I lost to Mike Grant by a couple points. So Gable knew that I was a good wrestler, but he didn't know how mentally I was charged up for that match, I think. He was a bit worried about me, and I think that got into his head. But Dan Gable is probably the best wrestler that's ever been in the United States. No question about that in my mind, and he was just kind of like a superhuman. Nobody scored a point on him in the Olympics. I did wrestle him in the Olympic trials that year, and he was on another level above me at that time. But I scored a point on him. I was the only guy that scored in the Olympic trials or the Olympics itself. I was the only guy to score him. He's quite a wrestler, but you know, I had to mentally condition myself to tell myself that I could beat Dan Gable. Everybody said it was impossible. I remember reading the headlines before the match, and they said that Larry Owings is either the bravest or the dumbest guy around. So I thought, okay, they think I'm dumb. They think I can't do it. Well, when somebody tells me that I can't do something, that just gives me all the more impetus to do it. I want to prove them wrong, prove them that I can do it. I had a move that I did, the single arm spin through.
Owings countered him. Underarm spin by Owings.
Not many people use it. It's kind of a variation off of what they call a flying mirror or a single arm throw, only I just spin through it. And I did it on Gable, and then I did a leg trip at the same time he shot in on my leg, and he took me down easily.
Move by Larry Owings. Now here comes Gable in. On the leg. Takedown for Gable. 2-0 lead.
And so Dan Gable jumped out ahead 2-0, and it's kind of on my move that happened. But then I got an escape, and I came back and I did the same move on him, only I did it on the opposite side. Didn't work on this side, so I did it on the other side, and it worked, and I took him down.
This is the first period. There Owings goes again on an underarm spin and a roll through. Beautiful move. That was the same move he tried earlier but did not score.
So I got 1 point escape and a 2-point takedown, so at the end of the first round I was ahead 3-2. I started on the bottom and I escaped Dan Gable, so that put me ahead 4-2.
Point. Look at that Owings go. He's up for one. And now it's 2-1 the score.
And then I came back in on him with the fireman's carry, which was my favorite takedown. Started on one side of the mat and went clear across to the other side of the mat for this fireman's carry, and I finally got him on it.
By Owings to make it 4-2 now. Owings ahead. And he's right back in, bud. On a takedown. He hasn't got it yet. There he does. And now Owings goes out ahead by a score of 6-2. And Dan Gable, the defending champion, won the last 2 years, is in serious trouble here in the second period.
He wasn't used to being behind. He wasn't used to people being on top of him, and so because of that, he started crawling off the mat, and the ref finally called him for crawling off the mat. So that put me ahead 7-2.
But he's trying to go off the mat again. Well, he made you. He's got him controlled. Look at that, Owings. Put it on. That was a point, bud. He called him. 1 point. Falling off the mat. That means a point for Owings.
Then there was a bunch of exchanges battling through the rest of the second round and the third round.
The reversal. And that makes the score 7-4. Owings on the bottom, though. Still leads 7-4 over the great champion Dan Gable. Gable's really tough on top, though. He can ride. He's got excellent balance. He's been able to control people and, of course, usually put them on their back. Both of these fellas have pinned everybody in this tournament up to now. He said he thought he had a good chance to beat Dan Gable, and so far he's proving it, leading by a score of 7-4 over the champion. He's going to come up over top so he can get his escape. Owings' helmet is coming loose with 1 minute to go here in the second period. Now he's got that arm tied up. Gable had his arm, but Owings comes out for a 1-point escape. Gable right back in. But Owings countered it. And look at him force it. And the score now, Owings' escape is 8-4. But if Gable gets a takedown here, he's close. There it is, 2 points, and 8-6. Gable's coming back on the takedown. We've got a great match going here, Paul. Great. Gable still has control. The referee points, but Gable does have the control. We're getting down to the final few seconds now. They're both in a neutral position, I guess. But Gable does have control. It looks like it, but Gable's still got the control. And there's the end of the second period. We'll be back for the big...
And it came down to the end of the third round that the score was 8-8 on the scoreboard.
But actually got reversed, so now the score is 8-8. It's a tie match.
But Gable had riding time, so he would have beaten me at that point.
He's the defending champion. There's the riding. Now we see riding time, and he does have 2 full minutes more. 4 minutes to 1:33. Wait a minute, there's an escape. Owings gets out. Owings leads.
Yeah, I escaped and made it 9-8. But Gable had 2 points riding to him, so he'd still be 1 point ahead of me. And then I came back with I was trying to get a near cradle, but I couldn't quite get it, but I was able to reach out and grab his leg, kind of do a shuck by or kind of slow motion type move. But anyway, when he did, he kind of fell awkwardly onto his butt, and I kind of jumped on top of him and held him within about an inch of being pinned and scored 2 point near fall and 2 point takedown.
9-8 on the scoreboard. He is behind 10-9 because of riding time. Looks like Gable could go ahead now, but can stay on his feet right here to the end of the match. He'll win it. Gable looks a bit tired. Yes, he does. For a minute on the race. He's got him down. The 2 point takedown. And on it. But as Larry says, he's trying to get a cradle here, but he can't make it. So what he does, as Gable comes back up to his feet, he picks that leg and takes it up in the air and puts Gable down for the takedown. As they go down, he covers over. He drives over to the right side and puts Gable right flat on his back for that all-important predicament.
And so that put me ahead 13 to 8, and then he got an escape, which made it 13-9.
Back also. Now it's 13-8 for Owings. The Gable came right up, but for an escape.
And then we finished up the match without any more scoring. And so the score is 13-9. And then he got 2 points riding time on top of that, which made it 13-11. And he was lucky enough to come out top on the score, leading 13-11.
Watch the match. There seems to be some confusion down on the mat. The score is 13-9. I believe the scores are motioning to the referee, Pascal Perry. Yes, there he goes. Find out just what the problem is. He's going over to the scores table. Right. Is that the right score? 13-9. The score is 13-9, favor 3. Ready? And Dan Gable is bewildered by the score. But he can't figure out that score. Perry just made the score 13-9. Now, Gable didn't think there was a second, I'm sure. He thought that the score would be 11-9 on the board, but a 11-11 tie with his riding time. You're both up. Now there's only 3 seconds remaining. Owings is leading. 13-9 with the riding time. The final score, there it is. 13-11, and for the first time in high school or in the collegiate career, Dan Gable, after 181 in a row, has lost to the sophomore from the University of Washington, Larry Owings, being swept off his feet by his coach, Jimmy Smith. And there's the very unhappy Dan Gable being treated by Coach Harold Nichols. Congratulations, breaking that streak of Dan Gable as the first match he's lost in high school or college.
Thank you.
Did you have any special strategy of going out or not?
Just go after him. That's the only thing I had.
I understand that you made this weight just to face Gable.
No, not really. It's the weight I should go at. And Gable just happened to be there. So
Now tell me, you went way out ahead, then he came back.
Yeah.
You change anything there where you're really out after him? You know you were losing advantage time.
Yeah, I know. Well, I figured I could beat him in the third round. Because I thought he was more out of shape than I was.
Thanks, Larry. We'll give you a chance to catch your breath as you look at Dan Gable. And we'll return with Larry Owings' analysis of his victorious bout over the previously undefeated Dan Gable in a moment.
My strategy going into the match was that I was going to throw anything and everything that I had against him and keep him so busy and keep him on the defense that he could not use his offense against me. And that's what I did. You know, I kept him off balance the whole match, so that he really couldn't ever get any momentum going and beat me. So, and that's how I did it.
And here's Larry Owings, upset winner of Dan Gable, and voted outstanding wrestler of the 1970 NCAA Wrestling Championship. Well, that's it. Now let's rejoin Jim McKay in Pepperell, Massachusetts for the third and final heat of the International.
I try to teach that to my children too, that they can do anything they want as long as they set their mind to it. You know, it might take some preparation. In this case, it did take a lot of preparation. You can achieve anything if you want to. And so that's kind of my real claim to fame. That's kind of the high point of my career. And I won quite a few matches after that. I lost 4 matches in college. One my freshman year, one my sophomore year, one my junior year, and one my senior year. And junior and senior year was, the match was in the finals of the NCAA tournament. My sophomore year was one dual match, and then the freshman year was in the NCAA tournament. That was a real tough tournament. You win that, you've done a pretty good job. So,
in 1971, I went 142 pounds again, and I ended up second. I lost to Darryl Keller from Oklahoma. Then in 1972, I went 142 again and wrestled a guy by the name of Tom Milkovich. Tom Milkovich, you can see his name in other places in the tournament here. But at any rate, Tom Milkovich is a very, very tough wrestler. I don't know how many matches he lost, but he didn't lose very many. I ended up losing him to 8-4. His style was one that just gave me fits. Every time I wrestled him twice, and both times he, would ride my ankles and be a very defensive wrestler. And those are the kind of wrestlers that gave me a real hard time. But Tom was a great wrestler, no question about it. And I'm not sure I could ever beat Tom just because of his style. Look at that. Fit right in there. Fits like a glove. Still 142 pounds.
and since then, I just, I got a lot of notoriety out of it, but I hated the notoriety. Drove me nuts. And I tried to avoid it, tried to shy away from the limelight and stuff like that. But about 15 years ago, I realized that the notoriety would never go away. So I thought, good Lord gave me a talent that I've been hiding for the last 25, 30 years. Maybe I should take a different approach. And so I decided that rather than hide my talent that I have in wrestling, I would use it to benefit others. So I started volunteer coaching at a local grade school, and then privately at a private mat. And then Dusty Price asked me up here to Woodburn High School, and so I came up here 1 year and volunteer coached. And then an assistant position opened up, and so I thought, yeah, that'd be good. So I like being an assistant coach. That's a good thing. Don't have to have any headaches, and I can just come home and coach and wrestle and go home. So it works out real well.
I drive it forward. Now he's lost that power.
Right. What you can do from in here, don't forget you can sit out on this side and turn. It's right here. Okay, you come up, sit out. He's gonna fall right down.
Head, take the head. No. Take the head for a near cradle. Do it again. You do that, you'll catch a lot of people. Especially if they're backing up. If they're coming into you, push into him this time when he comes up, baby. Push into him, push into him. There you go, see?
I got him again. Get a picture of Eddie and I together. Again, that bottom guy tries to get up, you straighten out his leg and put your pressure on with the hips. Ready? You have to kind of feel this guy out. Arm comes over top. In here, you can grab that and you can turn this way, okay? So you can turn this way. As soon as you turn that way, what do you do? Right back with a pancake. Okay, so there's two ways to go when that arm comes over top. And it can be out of that bar arm too. That bar arm, take it up right over here like this, turn that direction, turn through. Okay, with our partners, ready? Smile for the look up at the camera. Ready? Smile. Here you go. Come on, Freddie. Ready? That's the way to do it. 5 hard sprints. I thought you left.
Good workout today.
He helped me as a wrestler because he'll help me during practices with my moves all the time. Not just to be a good wrestler, but be a good person as well.
Because I didn't know who he was at the time, man. You know, I thought he was just an old man who didn't know how to wrestle, but with all that thing, I didn't think about it that much. And when I started actually wrestling him, I just realized that I screwed up because I picked on the right guy to mess with, and he took me down easily without any effort into it. And since from that day, I wanted to learn much more from him.
I would say that Owings has helped me as a coach, like, you know, just teaching his technique. I would say he's taught us, not me, but just the whole team. He's taught us how to become like a better wrestler, just getting us like mentally tough, you know, like telling us like how to cut weight, like what to do, or even on our matches, like after like we've had a loss or just after any tournament or any duel, he'll like write down on his phone. He'll take notes of like what we've been doing wrong. He'll just like come back the next day. He'll be like, okay, here's what we're doing wrong, so let's improve on this. You know, he just wants the best for us. You know.
He really beats up on me a lot of the times. It ain't out of like anger or anything, but he just decides to do it like in a way to teach me. A time in which I remember really well is I think it was my sophomore year in high school, and Owings has been up here for like a couple years, and he asked me if I was a good escaper, and I told him that I thought I was pretty good. So he got on top of me, and all he was doing was leg riding me and like just pinning me the whole time. And while he was doing that, he'd stop every like now and then and like tell me what he was doing throughout like the pinnings, and that really like impacted me just in a way where like the way he taught me, I'm starting to teach like the younger people, the people that are coming up and that are freshmen. And that's what I'm gonna take the most out of him. Owings is one heck of a wrestler. He has some age on him, but he still comes up and beats up on us, and I really enjoy that. Owings brings a different kind of like feel feel to the mat, where you feel respect around him. When you're around him, he respects you, so you have to respect him, and I really like that.
I've been wrestling for 55 years. So how much of that is coaching? I don't know. Probably 15 or 20, somewhere in there. You know, just after you've wrestled for 10 years straight, it just kind of grows on you. It's kind of like a habit that you can't break. Well, you got to do everything that the coach asks you to do in practice, and then you've got to do some work outside of practice too. You know, extra running, weight conditioning. The year that I beat Dan Gable, I had a gymnastics class that I was in, so that helped me, and I had a weightlifting class that I was in, that helped me. And then I was doing extra running outside of practice, and then I had practice also. Good and it's bad, you know. It's frustrating sometimes when you have kids that are really, really talented, and yet they don't keep their grades up, so they don't compete, or they are not eligible to compete because their grades are bad. But I tell you what, you know, there's certain times when people win matches that they aren't supposed to win. That brings to mind a couple of them in particular. One of them was when Marcos beat the #1 seed in the district tournament 2 years ago, ended up second in state and went to the state tournament. That was really neat when he beat the #1 seed, and he wasn't seeded in the tournament at all. And the other one was when your brother, Carson, lost in the finals at the district tournament to the kid from Dallas. Badly. When we got to the state tournament, he had a chance to wrestle him again, and he beat him badly. So he beat him out, and the kid from Dallas didn't place in the state tournament, and your brother got third. So things like that make you really feel good. What are the challenges for me to still wrestle at this age? Well, I've had 3 back operations, but luckily they aren't from broken bones or anything like that. It's mainly old age constricting on some of the nerves and stuff, so they have to go in and clean out around that, and some disc problems too. You know, it's every year you lose a little bit more muscle, and the kids are getting tougher every year. So, and you know, a lot of times I'll wake up with aches and pains, but you know, I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have high cholesterol. You know, I'm in good condition. The only problems I have is a little bit of hearing problems because I'm getting old, and eyesight is going too. But other than that, you know, I'm healthy. There's not many people my age that will still be out wrestling high school kids even. I'm thankful for that. Kind of the story of my life, but I'm married. I've got 4 children. They're all doing well, all of them. I got 3 of them are married, and one is a sophomore at BYU in Provo, Utah.
We watch the sunrise through the windows of our car, passing giants on the road, standing guard in the dark. And I saw you, so then in secret I felt like the jumper off the bridge, and the water down below will be keeping this, and I will let you too. Cause I wanna be like the wind, I wanna run with you. We can be wolves, howling at the gray white moon. I wanna be by your side when we light up the sky for the world to see. Run, 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 run with me.
Being inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame this year, a great honor to have that done. It taught me a lot about how if you work hard enough, you know, you can pretty much do anything. And I believe anybody can achieve the impossible. Just because somebody says it can't be done, that doesn't mean you can't do it. All it means is that they can't do it. And there's 3 rules that I kind of live by. Number 1, you know, you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe you can do it. And number 2, you can't quit. So believe in yourself, don't quit. And then the 3rd rule that I like to live by too is that I like to look around yourself and look for ways to help other people. Because by helping them, it really helps you. And I can relay that to wrestling. You know, if you're wrestling somebody, an opponent in practice, keep taking him down with the same move or turning him over with the same move. You tell them what you're doing. And by telling them what they're doing, you're improving their wrestling ability. Well, what does that do? And then it forces you to learn another move in order to be able to beat this opponent. So it makes you better by making him better. That works out that way. And you just look around yourself. There's a lot of things out there you can do to help people, and you get a good feeling from that. Wrestling has taught me hard work. It just pays off.
Everybody kind of want to wiggle in your seat a little bit, and next one takes a while. Mr. Larry Owings. We put his picture on the cover of our program for tonight's banquet, and it is my honor to be the first one to shake his hand as we welcome him into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame from the Oregon chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Larry Owings, and I would like everybody that is here to support Larry, stand up, please. Show up. Mr. Don Conway and Mr. Larry B.